The level of entitlement is just insane. So of course, yesterday we spoke about Ronna McDaniel, specifically Vivek calling her out and asking her to resign publicly during the third Republican debate.
We've become a party of losers at the end of the day. It was a cancer to the Republican establishment. Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018, 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party. For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you.
Of course, I completely agreed with what Vivek said. I think most of us have been calling and hoping for Ronna McDaniel to resign a while ago. She's been an utter disaster. We saw a report of Ronna McDaniel's reaction to Vivek's statement on the stage. Supposedly, allegedly, her response was, quote, "He won't get a cent from us," essentially implying that she took it personal and therefore she won't be funneling any campaign monies to Vivek because Vivek hurt her feelings, acting like a complete tyrant, a gatekeeper, or probably the best description, a corrupt, politically connected elite. She supposedly called him an a-hole as well. That was her reaction according to reports in the media. Well, that was her first reaction. Now we have Ronna McDaniel taking to Fox News to respond to Vivek Ramaswamy and the calls for her to resign. And while of course she didn't act aggressively, she didn't launch any ad hominem attacks like in the reports, even though she had her best face on for the news interview, what she actually said, the actual content, was absolute, utter garbage. Let me show you guys what I mean by that. Let's take a look at Ronna McDaniel's response. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, friends, so let's go through this clip and do something I normally don't do. Let's go through segment by segment. It's a 3-minute clip, but we'll pause and I'll kind of add commentary in between the clip as we go. Let's first start off here.
All right, joining me now, Ronna McDaniel, chairwoman of the Republican National Committee. Ronna, thanks so much for being with us. Vivek and others are saying that under your leadership, Republicans have lost election after election, and positing the question, why should you retain your job given the track record of the party under your leadership? And to that, what do you say?
Well, first, I'm going to continue to focus on Joe Biden and Democrats. And I think there was a moment missed during that debate by Vivek to talk about the fact that we still have 13 American hostages in Israel, the fact that for the first time ever in the history of either party, we had a Jewish co-sponsor for a debate, and we are in very perilous times in our country.
She was asked a very clear question relating to whether she should resign or not, and her response is, well, Joe Biden. What does that have to do with anything? We need to focus on Joe Biden, Ronna McDaniel says. Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to focus on Joe Biden when you're not winning elections, and when money is being spent stupidly, and top future of the party Republican candidates, like Carrie Lake, for instance, are being shafted by the RNC, are being shafted by the RNC chairwoman. The GOP is in full election sabotage mode. Kind of hard to focus on Joe, where the base structure in terms of moving monies to the right places isn't in place. She has been an utter dismal failure, a completely career-focused, deep state Mitt Romney plant. She then goes on to talk about Israel for some reason. Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. The whole point of the question is, please defend yourself, explain to us why you deserve to remain in your position, considering your outstanding track record of utter failure. It's a pretty freaking simple concept. I think Vivek Ramaswamy said it best in his response to this clip. He wrote, Ronna McRomney, sitting atop the RNC, reminds me of a squatter in a rent-controlled apartment. It's time to evict. Absolutely couldn't have said it better myself. She just refuses to vacate the position, regardless of how bad of a job she's doing. The level of entitlement is near communist levels of thinking. She then goes on to list all the important issues that we ought to be focused on instead of scrutinizing her track record.
And I do think Republican voters, and I hear this echoed all the time, are tired of the circular firing squad within our party, and they're saying, can we please talk about Joe Biden and the Democrats and the border and fentanyl and crime and what's happening to our kids and inflation. But definitely defend my record as chair.
We gotta focus on Israel and the border and blah, blah, blah. Again, kind of hard to do any of that as you hold the Republican Party hostage and continue to fail to mobilize monies effectively. Not to mention, you and your friends like, I don't know, Kevin McCarthy and the rest of the GOP neocon faction refuse to pass common sense legislation on nearly every issue you just named. Then Ronna McDaniel actually tries to get into the meat and potatoes of it all, defending her track record. She claims she's done a stellar job.
I know you believe in accountability. You talk about it all the time. I mean, everyone. I mean, I'm accountable.
So
you're right.
Some accountability.
Okay, that's what I asked you, and you went into another, another
I was going to go there. Sorry, I took too long on the answer, but I was getting there. I'm not trying to avoid anything. Let me promise you that, Laura. Listen, when Vivek didn't vote in 2016, I was leading Michigan to the first win in history in 30 years. In 2018, we defied the odds. We got 3 senators, people like Josh Hawley, that allowed President Trump to build the largest conservative majority on the Supreme Court. In 2022, the RNC, which is a turnout machine, right? We're not the messengers. We don't create the messages for the campaigns. Those are the consultants who get very, very well paid.
Did she seriously just tout 2018 as a Republican success? Democrats won a huge majority in the House in that 2018 election. Then the audacity to mention 2022, where Republicans should have essentially mirrored what Democrats did in 2018. She touts her success once again in the previous midterm election, then blames the messaging on other people, on consultants. There is absolutely no accountability here. Laura Ingraham even called her out on it, specifically bringing up spending in Virginia.
One of the things, Ronna, that happened was, I think in Virginia, people were wondering where the money was, whether they were going to get some help from the RNC. And I know at one point you said that you were not asked for money in Virginia, but a Republican source familiar with the Youngkin team in Virginia told The Angle late tonight that is false. And meaning your story keeps changing. Anyone who thinks Virginia Republicans wouldn't want help when we knew we'd be outspent isn't being serious. Ronna, they were outspent by $8 million.
Glenn Youngkin did a phenomenal job, and he raised a lot of money. A lot of people don't understand fundraising. I can't raise state dollars. I don't get unlimited convention and state dollars. And these were state House and state Senate races. The RNC is a federal committee. So, I mean, come on. Can you just, these are people who've come after me all the time. They're on Twitter. They're all the time. And let's see their results. What did they do in Virginia? How much money did they give? But let me stand by something else. In 2022, we took back the House. And the RNC is part of that. We're building the road. And we're launching Bank Your Vote. We've got to do that.
Ronna, we got to roll, but thank you for joining us tonight. We have a lot more to get to next.
She then once again avoids any responsibility, even though she's the chairwoman, claiming, well, she can't actually fundraise for state Senate races. Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. Nobody's talking about state Senate races. We're talking about mobilizing money effectively. Here's an interesting chart. U.S. Senate races in battleground states, top spending charts. Here's the deciding state that Dr. Oz lost versus a Democrat candidate who had literal brain damage. Democrats completely outspent Republicans where it mattered, in Pennsylvania and Arizona. Why are we spending money in Alabama, Missouri, North Carolina, and Florida when we should probably be focused on Georgia, Arizona, and Pennsylvania? I'd argue even Nevada, places where Republicans lost by extremely slim margins. This is the problem. Ronna McDaniel represents a political elite Republican clique. And if you're not part of that clique, if you're not a bought and paid for RNC deep state establishment shill, well, then you don't get funding. It's that now infamous quote from Ronna McDaniel, "He's not going to get a penny from us." Yeah, we get it. That's your track record. Everything's personal for this woman. She requires allegiance, subservient behavior. Do as I say, or you won't get anything. She then calls out people on Twitter who call her out. Well, what did you do in Virginia? Yeah, those people on Twitter aren't the RNC chair. Hello? Am I crazy, or is this like some of the dumbest shit you've ever heard in your life? Ronna McRomney is a complete disgrace. Her only purpose, her only job in that position is to protect the old neocon status quo, to get in the way of any Trumpian-style politician, anybody remotely close or perceived as an America First nationalist MAGA-adjacent politician, they're attempting to get in the way of this grassroots movement so they can, standing in the way of an organic conservative movement, change. And when they get called on it, they blame everybody else, a bunch of copium, horrible arguments. I think it's pretty damn clear from the video just how horrible and corrupt these people are. Now she's trying to play the victim as if she's under attack unjustifiably. Give me a break. She should have resigned immediately after 2022, and honestly probably after the 2020 election as well. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you on the next one.